Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 4th April 2021. So let us see which are the important articles in today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, as it is Sunday's newspaper, we know that the two important pages, FAQ page and Science and Technology page, along with some important developments at national and international levels. So let us take overview of these articles first. The first article, 5 security men killed in Sukma encounter. So here again the sad news that is coming up here regarding the Naxalism, left-wing extremism in some of the states like Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh and Jharkhand. So what is this issue of left-wing extremism? We need to understand in detail here from GS3 paper internal security part, because this year in 2020 mains examination itself there was very straightforward and basic question on this topic. Next, reversing a ban. So the context again is that US president has allowed the ban on H1B visa to expire this 31st March, and now the H1B visas along with other visas will be allowed. Especially this is of significance for Indian IT industries and those IT professionals, along with that US economy also. Let us try to understand what is this significance of this particular decision. Then for prelims examination from geography part, how Asian desert dust enhances Indian summer monsoon. So one of the new study that has been done on the role played by dust storms originating from the Central Asia, or we can say West Asia region and Iranian plateau region, and those desert dust storms, how they are contributing to summer monsoon. Okay, so from geography part we have to understand this phenomenon, along with that which are the different deserts according to, we can say, the world map part. So geography mapping part also we are going to take some inputs here. Later on, Biden lifts Trump's sanctions on international court officials. So here the earlier ban or sanctions on International Criminal Court ICC is now removed, lifted, and yes, from that particular development we have to understand international organizations here, ICC, International Criminal Court. Okay, basics about that. Yes, so let us go into details of all these articles one by one. First, 5 security men killed in Sukma encounter. So first let us try to locate this particular region. You can see here Sukma district of Chhattisgarh, and earlier such instances that happened, or the skirmishes between the security personnel, CRPF personnel and the Maoist in that, or Naxalist in that region. So you can see here the Chhattisgarh state, they are saying here the Sukma region of Chhattisgarh, Sukma district, and again zoomed in, you can see the border of this Chhattisgarh and Odisha region. And this particular tri-junction again here with Andhra Pradesh down on the downward side, this tri-junction as Dandakaranya forest and Bastar region, this has been the hotspot of these Maoist activities in that region. So you need to know the locations here. And yes, now let us try to understand the issue here. But before going to details, what is this red corridor or extremist or left-wing extremist affected areas of India? So almost about 1/3 geographical area of India is being affected by left-wing extremism in India. And yes, our former Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh had called this is one of the most important, or we can say dangerous thing, or the challenge to internal security of the country. Okay, so yes, you can see here the major area is here, the red marked area is highly affected, yellow one moderately affected, marginally affected, green one. So you can see here the tri-junction of Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Jharkhand as red one. Here Odisha, Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh, again the tri-junction. These two tri-junctions have been a very much active zone or area of Maoist activities. And the overall red corridor, yes, largely the eastern states of the nation along with northeastern part of Maharashtra, even some part of Madhya Pradesh, they are very much affected by this particular movement. Now if we talk about the background here, this particular movement started from Naxalbari village in 1960s as, we can say, one of the movement to seek the land rights okay, in that village, and that spread throughout this region, especially those regions are having the forest dwellers or tribal people, okay, tribal inhabited regions. So let us try to understand the determinants of rise of Naxalism or left wing extremism in those areas, because you can see what kind of questions have been already asked by UPSC. You can see here this year's UPSC mains 2020 examination GS3 paper 15 mark question: what are the determinants of left wing extremism in eastern part of India, and what strategy should government of India, civil administration, security forces adopt to counter the threat in affected areas? Very straightforward basic question, causes and the way forward they are asking. So let us try to take input from this analysis to answer this question. Again, in 2018 also, straightforward left wing extremism is showing a downward trend but still affects many parts of the country. Briefly explain the government of India's approach to counter the challenges posed by left wing extremism. So what the government is having as a solution to this, or as a response to deal with this Naxalism. Okay, so causes or determinants, here you need to understand it. We can divide them under 4 headings. One, Jal, Jungle, Jameen. These 3 J's are very much important for tribal people or those people living in those areas, and to some extent we are affecting these 3, Jal, Jungle, Jameen. Externally we are denying their rights over these 3, and surely their livelihood is being affected, their land, their home is being destroyed, and yes, adequate compensation or resettlement, rehabilitation is not being done. This to some extent alienate them and fuels anti-government sentiments among them. At the same time, the forest rights are also not given appropriately to the tribal people or the forest dwellers, we can say that, right? So surely this is making the problem in the Naxal affect or that eastern states or those Naxal affected areas. Now the development deficit and the governance deficit in those areas is, we can say, from social and economic and governance perspective. When we talk about development deficit, we need to focus on 5 areas, 3 economic, 2 social. What are these? 3 economic: unemployment, poverty and infrastructure. Unemployment, poverty and infrastructure, economic aspect. And then the social aspects, health and education. Lack of health facilities, lack of education facilities. Okay, so or we can say that from human resource aspect. Okay, so this is how we need to approach that. Development deficit can be seen here. If we talk about the governance deficit, what are the aspects that we need to understand here? That governance deficit means the government schemes and policies are not effectively implemented and the benefits are not reaching the intended beneficiaries. Okay, second aspect you need to understand here, that whatever the laws are there for the welfare of those people living in that area, they are not implemented effectively. Again, that is problem. Which are these laws? FRA, Forest Rights Act 2006. Then PESA is there, Panchayat jo act hai, that act extension of Panchayat Acts, right? So that PESA Act is not again effectively implemented, right? At the same time, Land Acquisition Act LARR is there 2013. Okay, so these acts are not being effectively implemented, their rights are not being given to them, and therefore this shows the governance deficit. Along with that, there is huge amount of corruption, leakage, misappropriation, misgovernance going on, and surely those civil servants, public servant working in those areas are having least motivation to work there. This shows the governance deficit. Along with that, if we talk about the social aspect, social, emotional, or we can say that some human aspect, surely that is also one of the important determinant of rise here. What are these? First, human rights violation. Human rights violation by the law enforcement agencies. Okay, those police officers, there was one case of yes, the gang rape that happened in Chhattisgarh few years back by the police personnel. Along with that, many such atrocities are being done, or we can say there are such allegations against the CRPF personnel also. Okay, so whenever the skirmishes happened between those personnel, security personnel and Maoists, surely there are many such casualties of villagers or civilians, and that affects the further, or that fuels further anti-government sentiments among those tribal people. Along with that, lack of dignity and respect is given to those people by the government. There is no emotional connect of the local administration with those people. This is being the major problem here. Okay, and then there is no connect of this tribal society with the mainstream society. That is also one of the major problem. Development deficit, or the kind of rich poor divide. Okay, all these are major aspect here, and surely the people living in those areas are not having trust in the government, trust in the administration. Okay, these are the determinants of rise in, we can say, left wing extremism or Naxalism in those areas. Now, what is the approach that government is having at present in dealing here? As a way forward, the government, or we can say that Ministry of Home Affairs, which is the major, we can say, ministry here, main ministry under which all the actions are done to deal with the internal security part. External security is the domain of Defense Ministry, internal security is domain of Union Home Ministry, and here the Union Home Ministry has separately launched this Operation Samadhan now to deal with this Naxalism problem. What is the full form of this Samadhan? Acronym stands for Smart Leadership, S, Aggressive Strategy, then Motivation and Training, Actionable Intelligence, Dashboard Based KPIs, Key Performance Indicators, and KRAs, Key Result Areas, Harnessing Technology, Action Plan for each theatre, and no access to financing to, we can say, the Naxalists. Okay, this is the Operation Samadhan. You need to mention this in your answer. Operation Samadhan as major being taken by, or the strategy of the government at present to deal with the Naxalism. Okay, along with that, there are many such initiatives to deal with this question. You can see here this year's question: what strategy should be there of Government of India? Now, this is the strategy of Government of India. Now, what should be the strategy of civil administration and security forces? Now, civil administration, the strategy should be, the civil administration should show their presence. What happens is, civil administration is not having the presence in those villages or those habitations in that area. This is one of the major problem that is happening in those areas, and lack of presence of civil administration is being exploited by the Maoist or Naxalist in that area. Okay, this is one of the aspect. Second aspect is that access to basic amenities. So, focus of civil administration should be to provide the basic amenities like drinking water supply, or we can say those roads construction in that region. Along with that, the electricity. So, water, electricity, these basic things, toilet construction, or we can say that health and education, basic education facilities should be provided by civil administration. This should be approach, and the implementation of government schemes by the civil administration. Security forces, now this is very important because the security forces need to have the multi-pronged approach here. It should not be having the strict approach of ensuring the law and order, or we can say security. Rather, it should also have the civil aspect, and for that matter, civic action plan is launched by the government, and yes, civic action plan focuses on the civic angle of CRPFs in those regions. So, the initiatives taken by security forces to have the contact with common people, those initiatives, they are funded under this civic action plan. Okay. Along with that, in addition to all of this, there is surrender cum rehabilitation policy, surrender cum rehabilitation policy of the central government. So, those who are surrendering, the civil administration has responsibility to ensure that they are rehabilitated properly. The benefits under these schemes are reaching to those who are putting down the arms, okay, and wants to again come back to the mainstream society and put down the violence here. Okay, this is how we need to approach to this issue. The causing factor just now we have understood, and the approach of the government of India, civil administration and security forces. Fine. Okay, so internal security GS3 paper, try to answer these questions that are there from our previous year questions, UPSC mains examination. Okay, moving on, reversing a ban. Now this particular article here is having the context of recent decision of US President that allowing the ban of H1B visa issuance to expire. Now this is a positive gesture, or we can say decision, especially for those Indian skilled workers in IT industry, and surely now they will be eligible for H1B visas and work in those companies in US IT industries. Okay, now background of the issue. First let us understand the background. So what happened is, the earlier President Trump in June 2020 had banned H1B visas issuance along with other such visas in the name of COVID-19. Along with that, yes, America First policy or the jobs to local people. Okay, so he was of the view that those skilled workers or the foreign personnel, they are taking the jobs which are very much, we can say, the rights of local people, local citizens of US. So because of that, this visa was banned, and now the new president is having different kind of policies here, different kind of view on this visas, and therefore now this is good decision. Along with that, you also need to understand here, there are unlikely benefits of visa ban to US economy. In last 1 year, surely we have understood this, there is no benefit to locals also because of this visa ban. Okay, why we have to understand this, that the skilled personnel or the human resource from India or other such countries entering into US, it helps in US economic growth, and ultimately when the size of economy grows, the employment generation automatically happens. Okay, this is the present president's view on this visa, H1B visas, or providing those visas to skilled workers. Okay, so we have to understand that visa ban did not work for US economy also. Along with that, many such tech giants in US like Google CEO Sundar Pichai criticized the earlier decision of President Trump in 2020. Along with that, Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Tim Cook, they have also lashed out at this policy that was there earlier in 2020. Now surely they are going to accept this very happily, the decision that is taken at present. Along with that, the president is walking a tightrope between allowing this human resource to contribute to US economy and thereby the overall growth of US economy, and secondly, not taking drastic extreme decisions to revoke the ban. They are automatically allowing to expire the ban. This is how the balancing act is being done, and the significance of the decision, first, US economy, surely the overall US economy will grow because of the contribution that is being done by those IT personnel or the human resource contributing to those US tech companies. And then second is the IT companies of India, they are exporting IT services to US. So India is also going to be benefiting, and the H1B visa holders or IT personnel, so around 70% of H1B visas goes to Indians, Indian IT personnel, skilled workers. Okay, so this is how we need to mention this fact also. Fine. So along with that, yes, those IT companies, Indian IT companies are also going to benefit because of exports of IT services. So significance of this decision, there can be question, or you can use this particular decision in India-US relationship. Okay, yes. Moving on, how Asian desert dust enhances Indian summer monsoon. Now Indian monsoon is one of the important topic from geography part, and we have to understand the monsoon phenomenon also, but that is from the basic part. What this particular new study that is being done here and the outcome of this study, it is saying that yes, the deserts in the West, Central and East Asia plays an important role in Indian summer monsoon. They have this positive feedback loop with Indian monsoon, that more and more such desert storms helps to reinforce or strengthen the Indian monsoon, and more strong Indian monsoon strengthens these desert storm in that region. This is the positive feedback loop that is happening there. This is the outcome of this study. What happens here when there are dust storms or in the deserts, they are lifted by strong winds, can absorb solar radiations and become hot. This can cause heating of the atmosphere, change the air pressure, wind circulation patterns, influence the moisture transport and increase the precipitation. This is how the dust storms are responsible for more rainfall in during the monsoon season. Okay. Now as the question is talking about the deserts here, can we locate different deserts of India? Because there can be question on the map based question, like we need to know some of the important deserts of the world, right? So let us locate them from left to right. We can go like here we have the Gibson Desert, Victoria Desert, or we have here in China Gobi Desert, here we have Taklamakan Desert, here we have in India Thar Desert, here Arabian Desert, then Sahara Desert, then we have Namib Desert, Kalahari Desert, right? Then we have here as Atacama Desert, right? And then we have Mojave Desert. So in this manner, the major deserts of the world and their location you need to know, okay, because there can be map based question, and important deserts and their location is you need to know about, okay. Yes. Now moving on, Biden lifts Trump's sanction on international court officials. Yes, so earlier in September 2020, former President Trump had put sanction on some of the two officials of International Criminal Court ICC for pursuing prosecutions of Americans for actions in Afghanistan and Israelis for actions against Palestine. Okay, now this particular decision shows that the America wants to bring back into the multilateral platforms or international institutions. Okay, so this is significant as the latest signal that Biden administration is intent to return into multilateral fold. Okay, multilateral, that means the multilateral institutions. Sure, they are going to respect these multilateral institutions, participate in those. Yes, now what is important for prelims examination? Basic information about ICC, International Criminal Court. Yes, The Hague, its headquarters is located in Hague, Netherlands, and whenever we talk about ICC, you need to know Rome Statute. This Rome Statute, when signed and came into force in 2002, the ICC was established on this particular date, and this Rome Statute specifically inquire into some crimes, 4 main crimes: crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, crime of aggression. This is how the broader major crimes the ICC seeks to investigate into. Now we need to know that India never signed and ratified this particular treaty. India, China or Russia, they were against. Along with that, this ICC is not a UN organization, and ICC does not have its own police or enforcement investigation agencies, okay, or personnel. Rather, those who are the members of ICC, those countries they help in for investigation, or those police personnel or enforcement bodies of those countries help for further work of ICC in those countries. Okay, so this is the basic information. Now what kind of question we are expecting here, or we can deal with such practice question here about ICC? We have to find the correct statement here. It is governed by Rome Statute. Yes, this is correct. Its headquarter is located in Peace Palace at Hague. Generally what happens is, students know that yes, it is located in Hague, but it is not located in Peace Palace. Okay, so we need to know that in Peace Palace, ICJ, International Court of Justice, which is the arm of United Nations, that is located in Peace Palace. Along with that, other such permanent court of arbitration, PCA, is also located in Peace Palace, but ICC is not located here in Peace Palace, but it is located in Hague, Netherlands. Okay, India has signed and ratified Rome Statute. No. So these two statements are incorrect. So answer should be one only. This is how we can approach to these questions. Okay. So yes, these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, wherein in-depth analysis of mains related issues and articles is done by Ansari sir and team, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.